Hi friends, welcome to today's video. I know it's been about like a week or so maybe since my last video, and I just needed some time to myself to process things, to get a game plan and figure out, just let everything soak in. So today's video is going to be another like health update. If you haven't watched my most recent, well, like my last video before this one, I would definitely recommend watching that first if you care, to be like caught up to speed. I don't want to rehash everything I talked about in that video, but basically I've been dealing with some health issues and I do have some answers now, so I want to talk about those. But first, we have a couple of housekeeping things. Number one is that one of my big projects that I've been hinting at is in for approval now. So we have like about 1 to 2 weeks before that launches, so get super excited about that. And then the second one is that if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen the official announcement for my Fundamentals of Fat Loss course, which I'm super excited about. I've been working really hard on that to bring you guys like all the information, all the strategies, all the ways to set yourself up for success in a fat loss phase, like scientific principles backed by studies and research, and then proven by experience, and as well as approved by like coaches, registered dietitian, all that good stuff. So if you're interested in checking that out, I actually do have a free lesson available, and the lesson is all things cardio. So if that interests you, then the link to the lesson is the first one in the description box. Prior to this, my email list were the only people that knew about FFL, and now I'm opening it up to everyone, so super pumped for that. You guys know that I'm all about like educating and empowering people to take their fitness and well-being into their own hands. So I think this course is going to be like an awesome stepping stone for the way I run my business, the way I deliver information to you guys, all that good stuff. So I'm really excited about it, and the pre-sale went really well, so I am stoked. So now I do have like notes written down because I don't want to leave anything out of this video and I don't want to go too far off track. But before I talk about my diagnosis and like do the health update, I wanted to share a Wholefoods haul with you guys because I went there the other day. I'm going to be making a lot of changes to my diet and lifestyle after my diagnosis, and Whole Foods is about to be my second home. So thank God Amazon bought Whole Foods and is making it cheaper, because otherwise homegirl would be broke. But I went to Whole Foods, so let's see what I bought. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that little montage of stuff I got at Whole Foods. I will definitely be going there more often now, and it's just a really good spot to get nutritious, wholesome goodies. And honestly, one of my favorite activities is like wandering the aisles of Whole Foods, because there's so many options and it's just so exciting to me. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you want like a more in-depth haul, or like, I don't know, more food stuff, totally let me know, because I love food. So that is that. But now we will jump into the more serious part of the video, I suppose. I feel really like upbeat and happy and optimistic today, so yeah, that it's obviously a good time to film, because I don't want this to be all like depressing or anything. But I did want to let you know that the last like week or so has been quite the roller coaster for me. I have gone from like having anxiety attacks and crying on the phone to my mom and crying to Andrew and just feeling like super overwhelmed and lost and scared, but like mostly the prevailing emotion has been like hope and determination. So just so you guys know, this has been like a rough time for me. 2017 has basically just been rough for a lot of reasons, but I am feeling better, and I hope you can feel that in the energy, in the vibes of this. Let's get started. As I mentioned, I'm making some pretty substantial changes to my diet, and I'm really focusing on healing my body and providing it with like literally all of the tools it could need, or I know to give it to heal and get better. And that is like a big part of my treatment, I guess, is changing my diet, and the end goal of that is just to get like my health back on track and get my body functioning properly again. And while all the stuff I'm going to talk about is very expensive, and I've invested a lot of money recently into getting my health back on track, it's priceless. And if you guys take away anything from this video, I don't want it to be like pitying me or anything like that. I want it to be that everyone should be proactive about their health. Everyone should value and cherish their health. And if something doesn't feel right, if you're in tune enough with your body to tell that something isn't right, like pursue it. Don't just assume that everything is okay. And if you don't feel comfortable about the answers that you have gotten, then keep digging, because it's your body. You only have one place to live. It's worth investing in good food. It's worth investing in getting answers from an appropriate medical source and all that stuff. So if you take anything away from this video, that's what I want you to take away. So if you watched the last video, my doctor and I thought that I was having some hormonal imbalances causing me to miss my cycle and gain weight and all that stuff. So he did very comprehensive blood tests. Typically, a lot of general practitioners will not do like thorough enough blood tests, so that is really something to watch out for. You want to make sure, if you want like more information on this stuff, just let me know and I'll be happy to help. But basically, we did a very comprehensive blood test. So unfortunately, the diagnosis is that I have a second autoimmune disease, which is pretty shitty news. I don't know how closely you follow me, but if you've watched like my Alphalete video, or maybe like a super old video, or have followed me on Instagram for a long time, you know that I already had an autoimmune disease called linear scleroderma and coupe de Staub, and I got diagnosed with that when I was very young. And that was something that I was on like low dose chemo medicine for a few years, and that is essentially now like in remission, I guess. But I was like misdiagnosed from that for years, and like my family has been through a lot. I've been through a lot, like emotionally, mentally, physically, dealing with that. So it just like cut very deep to be diagnosed with like a second autoimmune disease after already having a history of like overcoming so much with my first one. Emotions. And I really do want to open up about that to you guys like on another day, because I feel like there's a lot to be shared and a lot to be gained by sharing that story. and opening up about what I've overcome. But having, like, getting a second autoimmune disease diagnosis really sucks, to be honest. But again, I'm feeling a lot more like hopeful and determined than I was initially when I first got the diagnosis. I went through like all the stages, you know, and I still like am, but on average I'm feeling better. So the diagnosis, or the disease that I have, is called Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and this is an autoimmune disease that typically causes hypothyroidism. And what happens is your body's immune system like incorrectly attacks your own tissue, and in this case it's your thyroid tissue. So your thyroid is like a butterfly shaped gland in your like throat area, and Hashimoto's is when your body is attacking your thyroid tissue. It typically leads to hypothyroidism, and that just means that your thyroid doesn't produce enough hormones. Your thyroid is part of your endocrine system, and like your thyroid plays a really important role in like your metabolism, your heart rate, a bunch of different like bodily functions. So it's really, really important. The symptoms that I personally experienced, there are even more, but I experienced weight gain, fatigue, irregular periods, depression. Like my face was really puffy, and I actually think that my face is already looking like leaner. I haven't lost any weight, but I feel like my face looks less puffy, and that's really interesting to me. But those are all of the symptoms that I was experiencing, and the really irregular period is what had initially gotten me into the doctor like this time last year, and he didn't do comprehensive enough tests. I maybe didn't have Hashimoto's yet at that point, but like I had some sort of hormonal imbalance or something like that that went like untreated for basically a year, and I think that's somewhat linked to competing. But I do think there are like more underlying issues as far as like once you have one autoimmune disease, you're typically predisposed to more. And I'll talk about like other causes in a second. But how are we treating this? How are we moving forward? That is the important thing right now to focus on. And one, my doctor gave me or prescribed me a natural thyroid medication called Thyroid that kind of like supplements your body with thyroid hormones. And then he also gave me like a thyroid support supplement that's like natural. So this doctor that I went to specializes in hormones and anti-aging. He's not a naturopathic doctor, but he does lean towards more natural remedies and more like getting to the root of the cause, more like functional medicine versus Western medicine, which typically is more about like band-aids. I could do a whole video on Western versus functional medicine if you guys want. I have a lot of experience actually with like naturopathic doctors, more functional medical modalities, stuff like that. So if you're interested, let me know. Again, I have a lot of stuff like medical wise that I haven't really talked about, but I have a lot of experience. Doctor is giving me a prescription and like a thyroid support supplement, and basically just said like make sure you're eating mostly unprocessed foods and try to reduce your stress. And that was like pretty much the only guidance he gave me. And while he was more thorough than typical Western doctors, like that really, I wasn't satisfied with that level of direction, because once I started doing more research into Hashimoto's and like really dove into how you can manage it and reverse the symptoms and all of that stuff, like you need a much more intense approach in order to really manage the disease. So one thing that I found in my own research is that you need to make a lot of dietary changes in order to assist your body in healing and bring down your inflammation. And the main thing that like tips you off that you have Hashimoto's is that you have thyroglobulin antibodies present, and that antibodies are part of your immune system. So that means your immune system is attacking your thyroid. And the goal in order to reverse Hashimoto's is to decrease your antibodies, get them to zero if possible. So in order to do that, you need to make significant dietary and lifestyle changes typically. So yeah, of course I went home, researched for like hours and hours. That's the type of person I am. Like, if I want to know about something, I will research about it and learn about it until I'm satisfied. And honestly, I'm glad I did it because it definitely brought more awareness, but it also freaked me out because I was reading all of these like horror stories and worst case scenarios and like people who struggle with it for their entire life and like some really serious cases. And with like my first autoimmune disease, the doctors told my parents, like, don't research this, don't get books on it, don't like look at case studies because they will show worst case scenario, they will scare you. And like Marie's case, we're confident that we can manage it and all that stuff. So when I called my mom, I was like crying, just saying like, oh my god, I'm gonna get Alzheimer's and dementia because it's gonna eat my brain and like all this stuff, which can happen, but it's rare. And so I was telling her, I was like freaking out about all this stuff. My mom said that that was a bad idea to be researching so much. So I was like, okay, maybe you're right. I need someone else to help me. Like, I need to take this out of solely being in my hands and put it in someone else that is more experienced and someone I can trust, and they will lead me in the right direction rather than me just overwhelming myself with like so much information and so many different sources of information. So I reached out to a clinical nutritionist who actually specializes in women's autoimmune diseases and especially Hashimoto's. So like perfect fit, right? And he actually lives in LA, so I've been able to like meet up with him a couple times in person, which has been super helpful. And he's working with me for the next 12 weeks to really get everything under control. He has me on a full regimen, a full plan, along with diet, along with medication. I am also really focusing on managing my stress. There have been a lot of proven links between high stress, like chronic stress levels, and that triggering autoimmune disease. And I think that's really interesting because I am a chronically stressed person. I am very stress and anxiety prone. Like I said, I had an anxiety attack the other day. I thought I was doing okay at managing my stress. Like this year has been really, really stressful for me, and I thought I was doing okay at managing it, but clearly not. My body is telling me, hell no. It was definitely a sign that I need to be better about managing my stress, and that's actually something that my nutritionist and I are also working on. He does like mindset and lifestyle coaching alongside the nutrition protocols. I have like basically homework every day for how to relax, how to unwind, and how to de-stress, which I think is super, super important. And aside from that, I'm checking in with him once a week. What else? So I'm doing a lot of meditation, a lot of walking, a lot of self-care. I am still training between like 3 and 5 days a week, depending how I'm feeling. I'm still riding horses 2 to 3 days a week. And so a lot of my life can stay the same, but I feel like my headspace and my body needs to be treated completely differently. And basically I'm doing a total overhaul of how I feel and how I think about things and like approach my life. So you know, like I said, I'm feeling a lot more hopeful, a lot more optimistic about my future and my ability to beat this thing, but it is overwhelming. It is a lot to process, like I said. So I really appreciate you guys giving me grace this past week or so in figuring it out. I know I kind of like hinted at it on Instagram and just told you guys that I was going through a rough time with my health, and that was really just letting it soak in. And like when I was researching and stuff, I got really scared and just kind of got like really in my head. So that's another reason why I'm really glad I have a coach now, is I have someone that has been there, done that. He has a lot of patients that are successfully managing the disease, and that is very comforting, of course. So yeah, I want to just thank you guys again for supporting me, loving on me, and I got so much amazing feedback on my last video. I replied to as many comments as I could, loved as many comments as I could, because you guys are simply so amazing. Like, I know that I don't have to share this with you guys. I could continue posting about just workouts and recipes and like keep it pretty surface level, but I feel like the greatest value in social media and especially YouTube is sharing what makes your story unique, sharing your struggles and being open and vulnerable. And I think that's super valuable, and I think that you guys do appreciate it. So just thank you so much for supporting me and appreciating that I put myself out there, because I know that I'm not obligated to, but it's really rewarding, even though it's kind of scary and hurts sometimes. And yeah, that's all I have to say, like 30 minutes of talking later. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will keep you updated if you have any requests on further like explanation of certain topics, or anything that I mentioned in this video, then definitely let me know, and I can do either like a blog post or send an email out or even do a video, depending on like how in-depth the topic is. Don't forget to sign up for the free Fundamentals of Fat Loss lesson. That's the first link in the description. And that should wrap it up. I love you guys so much. Sending you big hugs. And that is it. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. I don't know how closely. Ollie, I'm recording. Shh. Ollie, just go to the bathroom. You don't have to tell me. Ollie. Ollie. You got it, bud. What? Ollie.